So I'm pretty excited to be up here today because I've actually had the opportunity to interview both Meagen and Rob, who will come up momentarily, for my podcast. And now we have their counterparts in marketing operations. So I have Meagen Eisenberg and Ryan Schwartz from MongoDB, one of the high-growth Silicon Valley companies, who are going to be sharing some of their experiences. And Craig alluded to it before, but Meagen and Ryan have worked together, was it 6 companies? 5 or 6. So they are really a package deal. In fact, I learned last week when I saw Meagen and Ryan at MarTech that Ryan actually officially joined MongoDB slightly before Meagen. So why don't you give us a little bit of the background on the story on how this partnership has come together and what really makes it work?
Sure. So we met over 10 years ago. We were both we were actually out of a company in Vegas, and I was running programs or demand gen, and Ryan came in to run the website. And it was, I had come out of a company called Postini that was using Eloqua and decided that we needed a marketing automation platform and had purchased and implemented Eloqua. And really, while at the time was the power user till Ryan came on, he really was the power user. He came in and figured out more on nurturing and how to do all the just sophisticated things that you can do with that tool. And from there, I left and I went to a company called ArcSight. And Ryan joined maybe a year and a half, 2 years after that, and again selected automation vendor Eloqua, then looked at a technology called Demandbase to implement, and just a couple other technologies. So our portfolio of MarTech started to grow at that time. And then we were acquired by HP, and HP started to use the ArcSight model for their software division, and actually rolled out Salesforce and Eloqua to software HP. And did some work there for about a year, and then left and joined DocuSign up here in the city. And Ryan came about 3 months, or 2 or 3 months after that, same thing, bought Eloqua, implemented, and then another 10 technologies or 15, and we were there for about 3.5 years. And then when deciding to go on to MongoDB, Ryan actually resigned before me, to me, and then I resigned, and we accepted the offer at MongoDB and really started within the same week. And just quickly became apparent that in order to be competitive and really be successful in marketing, you have to understand your technology, your website. You live and die by the website, all the different technologies that give you insight out there and data. And to make the best decisions for the company, you have to access that data and do and work with it. And you really can't do that without having someone who is really deeply technical, understands how to evaluate, implement, drive adoption within the organization, and then gather the insights so you can make and lead the right decisions. And Ryan's definitely a master at that.
Thanks, Meagen. Yeah, I mean, for me, when we started at Triwiga, I managed the website, and I managed like internal tools and things like that. When Meagen called me after she left for ArcSight, and I managed Eloqua, and then when Meagen called me after she left, she kind of said, I'd really like to come in and manage marketing systems and manage Eloqua, kind of build out operations. And at that point, the vision that I saw for myself was to be an engineer. Like I wanted to be a programmer. I wanted to continue to develop. Like that was the vision I'd always seen for myself. And she painted this picture of like basically how there's going to be a growing need to have technical people in marketing, and that marketing systems are going to really expand. And there is a gap here. We don't have technical people in marketing yet. This was several years ago, and you could make a name for yourself in this space, and you can really make a difference. So. She convinced me, and it's been a great partnership. Yeah.
Yes.
No, I think that was a prescient call on Meagen's part. And I will say, having been at SiriusDecisions for almost 5 years, leading the demand creation strategy service, I worked with a lot of companies, large and small. And before that, as a practitioner, I worked at several small companies. And I honestly do not think you can bring in a marketing operations lead who is both technically savvy as well as strategic in his thinking. Because what it really frees up, I think more than anything else, I think Meagen's a salesperson. I think every company that she has gone to, there has been some type of transformation. And you cannot sell that type of transformation unless you have, and I refer to him as a consigliere. That's what I had prior to going to SiriusDecisions. It was somebody I absolutely trusted, who I could go to and say, here's a crazy idea. Is there any way to make it work? And when you have that trusted counterpart says, yeah, I can make it work, that frees up your CMO to go and sell that to the CEO, to the board, to the customers, whoever it may be. So it's an absolutely critical, tandem to have that partnership. Now, what was really interesting when we spoke last week is you said MongoDB is actually the first company that you've gone to where you actually inherited a team versus building it from the ground up. That must have created some challenges. How did you approach that?
Yeah, so it's true. Every company I joined, I maybe had one person reporting to me and built it out to 25. And as you see, what work needs to be done, you go hire that talent, and you're looking for a skill set, and you have a certain culture. And it is very different to go. MongoDB had 26 people, and they had, solid, talented team, but not a lot of strength on the technical side. We had multiple websites not owned by marketing. We owned .com, but really relied on engineering to do anything really savvy with it. We did not have anything going on in digital or social. It was sort of someone's side job to tweet. We were not running paid search. And so I really, when I saw the sort of opportunity from a technology website side, I felt I could bring, and we could bring a lot of value. And you're right, you had to sell that vision to the team. And I actually think the team of 26 was so excited because they all desired to do this stuff, but they didn't have the skill set and the team to back them on the ideas to go implement, to go make it happen. And so when Ryan came in and really had the skill set and an idea of what to do, and here we had a budget, people rallied around that. But there were certainly some learnings in getting to know a newer team, understanding and learning their skill set and how we were going to orchestrate. Right? You had to make sure everyone understood their position. And in marketing, they're very different teams. You've got your product marketing, cerebral, MBA, really analyzing and looking at the industry and packaging and pricing and messaging. You've got field marketing who have got massive things. They've got a lot of detailed work, a lot of organization, running shows, putting together dinners, different things like that, mixed with creative people who've got to get it to market, all the design, with website technical engineers. These are all very different personalities that you need to align with common objectives to work together. And when they all operate together on a product launch, it's amazing what the team accomplishes, but you've got to get them all working together. And so there's certainly a lot of just learning around that. And part of the, I think, success coming to MongoDB was bringing in a pillar strength of technical background who delivered on a lot of things they wanted to do, because there's a lot of happiness when you actually get to do what you think the company should be doing, and now you have the talent to do it. So I think it certainly helped me with the team that I inherited.
I think also at the beginning, we had to go through an exercise of gaining confidence. Like some of the ideas we had were a little different than what they had done in the past, and so we had to create confidence there. We had to kind of convince everyone that this would work, and that we could execute as fast as the timeline suggested we could. And so it was identifying those big gaps, giving out recommendations, prioritizing everything. I think in terms of ops, one thing can often happen is it's a team that has to make things happen, but it's also on ops to make sure that we're doing the things that matter. So how do you make sure that not only do you have to keep everything working, making sure that you're generating names and processing and executing, but also come up with new ideas, new innovations, and making sure that what we're doing, what we're spending time on, is going to matter as well. And so we had to kind of share that story, build that confidence at the beginning, and then really execute on it.
I want to give Ryan a little bit more props. So there were two things that happened very early on by which you earned that credibility. You had almost a crisis situation almost as soon as you joined with marketing automation. And then you also had to prove yourself in terms of being able to take over, the website. So maybe you can comment on those two examples and specifically what the situation was, what you did, and how it really earned you that credibility.
Sure. So basically, when we got in, we had to make a decision about which marketing automation platform we were going to use, and we were very close to a renewal date with Marketo, and we had always used Eloqua, and we looked at the two of them, I did a full analysis and all the use cases, all the functionality. We did a full analysis comparing Marketo and Eloqua. And our challenge was that the Marketo date was basically, when I started, was 30 days away from renewal. So we had to move really quick to make this decision. And when we were doing this analysis, there was some really obvious gaps that I saw that the way that I knew Meagen would want to execute, especially when it came to nurture systems and creating custom workflows. If any of you guys use Marketo and you figure that out, that's awesome. But I had these concerns with Marketo originally. So we made the decision that we were going to switch it to Eloqua. And when we got the contract signed and we got access to Eloqua, we had 9 days left before the Marketo contract ended. So we had to migrate everything off of Marketo.
And they shut us off.
And they shut us off at 9 days, yeah.
Actually, they pulled Solar off the back end and slowed us down very quickly.
Yeah,
Once we made the call.
There were some kind of weird things that happened there, but we had to implement Eloqua in 9 days, and we had to do it with zero impact to sales. We had to have live integration with the website. We had a nurture system, scoring in place.
Leads flowing in.
Yeah.
Yes, because we did not want to make a bad impression out of the gate.
Yeah.
Right? We're earning trust. Those first 100 days are really, really critical.
So I wouldn't recommend it, but it went well. We worked with a consultant who did the Salesforce integration piece, and we, internal team basically managed the entire integration of the website, all of the workflows, lead scoring, routing, all the asset migration. But yeah, and it worked well.
And now, when you talk about that first 100 days, you actually had a very aggressive plan, and it was as much about choosing what not to do as what to do. What was that plan? What were the results? What were some of the web implications for it?
Yeah, so it was interesting. It's my first time being a CMO, and so I tried to talk to all the CMOs I knew to get a sense of what's expected of a CMO the first year. And I talked to Brian Carden, and I talked to Dustin Gross and a couple other CMOs, Reed Henry that I'd had, and Al Campa, and was kind of collectively understanding. And they all said, oh, they're going to expect a 100-day plan. And you need to figure out what your top 3 things are. And you're going to go, the first board meeting was right away, so I wasn't on the hook the first board meeting, but the second one, they wanted to know, what's my assessment? What do I think is good and bad, and what am I going to do to address it and tackle? And so I spent about 30 days trying to assess people, assess systems, assess what I thought we needed to do, get to know the sales team, try to partner. And my top 3 things were marketing systems was a big one, sales and marketing alignment, and then brand and messaging. I was hearing from the comms team that we have all these different boilerplates. The C-level talks about it one way, sales talks about it another way, engineering talks about it this way. We have 20 different Twitter handles. There's just a lot going on, so I knew I had to kind of bring that and consolidate it. And that was not my area of expertise, so I brought in an agency called Gyro to really help us go through this process around our brand and tagline and what we were going to do. Ryan really focused on both pillars on marketing systems, but also marketing sales alignment, and put a plan together of what technologies we were going to implement, what functionality that was going to drive, what was our funnel going to look like. We had, understanding the sales organization, and I didn't have a lot of benchmark data because systems weren't in place. I couldn't tell you conversion rates because we weren't tagging things the right way. What I love about ZenIQ is these plays, stuff we had to build out. I say we, but really Ryan had to build out manually within Salesforce in order to get to the data that we needed. And so really figuring what that looked like. And when we looked at the funnels, it was like, okay, well, what are our revenue targets divided by our average deal size? This is how many net new logos we need to close. If I use benchmark data, which I use Serious Decisions, of course, I went out and looked at companies, SaaS tech companies, what conversion rates are. Ours are totally different, but I didn't learn that for about 9 months. But use that to figure out how many leads we need to bring in order to generate pipeline. And so put that in front of the board. And the board was like, okay, all right, well, let's see, what can we do? And really came in the next board meeting and showed the progress of everything we looked at. And the board was really happy with what they were seeing just across the board, that we tackled the branding comp side, that we tackled the sales and marketing partnership, and that we had the systems and technology. And so it was a strong first year. And we did have to win over, it's a very engineering-dominated company. We're database at the core. And with the 2 different websites, our engineering team owned docs, and I remember our first all hands, people can write in questions anonymously. And one of the questions they wrote in is, why are we letting marketing own the website? And I was like, wow, well, of course marketing is going to own the website. This is ridiculous. We've got .com, we have docs. So I and Ryan and the team, we had to really take .com to the next level. And the company got a sense of pride around it and then allowed us to own docs and take it to the next level. And then in the second year, we merged to one site. But it was that you can't, no matter how good you were at any other company, you have to still earn that, and you do it by saying what you're going to do and then go doing it. And actually, Ryan, I think, was key in his technical team because engineering, Ryan really spoke their language. And when they saw that he was capable, spoke their language, he wrote the entire site using MongoDB as well as our CMS and wrote it in Ruby on Rails and then actually rewrote it on Python. He just was, I could see him speaking back and forth with the engineering team and they were like, oh my God, thank God I don't have to own the website. Oh my goodness, give it to this team. And then once we owned it, we could just bring in more technology, continue to innovate, get the foundation, get the technology in. And now we are at a point 2 years in where we can really do innovation and what I would say the fun part of it. We did a lot of heavy lifting to get to this place, and now we get to just continue to outpace our competitors because that foundation's in.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the website piece of it was interesting because when we launched the first website in 30 days after we started. It was intense, but there was several issues with it, and that was one of our big we launched marketing automation. We're going to get the website where it needs to be, and then we can kind of innovate it from there. So really focused on what were the really painful parts of the website, and we interviewed a bunch of people. We got a lot of feedback about what people would like to see, and we prioritized all of that, and we did an iterative approach. So we relaunched it on a new back end, and then every 2 weeks we launched a new section of the website, a new functionality. We had this whole plan in place of how we were going to do that. And when it comes to the merging of the sites, there was a few dominant reasons for doing that. There was the .org site and the .com site. One was just our organic search. Docs and the .org site basically outperformed .com in organic search, and we would never be able to beat that. We were basically competing with ourselves on for our own web traffic and conversion rate. So we kind of built this case together, and we merged those. But to the point about now what it's like in 2 years into it, I think one thing that happens with marketing technology, in development there's this term called technical debt, which basically means that as soon as you write your code, it begins to start to have performance issues, or it basically starts to suffer, as soon as you write it. And I think in marketing systems, there's a similar term that applies, which is tactical debt. The systems that you put in place, the operations, the processes, all these things you put in place a year ago or 2 years ago start to incur this tactical debt. And so now that we have the systems in place, we're kind of going back and looking at all of our tactical debt gaps and optimizations and improvement opportunities that we have. And I think we're now plugging in technologies to solve those. So that's kind of where we are.
And I think that brings up another great point. I mean, Meagen is one of the few CMOs that you will talk to who literally reserves at least an hour every single week on her schedule to evaluate new technology. So you have a very specific process that you and Ryan follow to make sure that you are filling the gaps tactically with new technology. Maybe you can share your thinking.
Sure. I don't know if I'll ever get to all 5,000 of them, right. But I do, at a minimum, talk to one new MarTech, even sales tech vendor a week. And I just think it's an important part of staying up on innovation and having a competitive edge is understanding the technologies are out there. And I've been rewarded over the last decade by trying new technologies before others have accessed them. And even just with Twitter promos, when they first came out and you could do a Twitter promo and you could go after followers, we could generate a lot of leads because there wasn't a lot of ads on Twitter. But now if you do Twitter promos, there's just a lot going on. So I find Facebook's much better for the price per
Cost per acquisition.
Yeah, and cost per acquisition. And so you've got to be out there trying it in order to get the edge on others. And if you're not figuring out what's out there, you're not going to know. And because there's so many technologies, I want to understand where it fits in the funnel, what pain we're feeling. And so I'll evaluate, and if I think it's something that is going to solve something, I'll ask Ryan, hey, when you have cycles, can you look, first of all, can they actually do what they say they can do? Because he can smell that. Is it something, what's implementation really look like? Is it really just a couple hours, or is it a couple weeks? Are they going to connect into the automation platform or Salesforce? And then I need to have a champion on my team as well that is going to really drive it, because I don't want to just buy a technology and do the lowest common denominator of use. I want to be the ultimate customer of theirs. I want to use it for all the core, but I also want to do innovative things with it. I want to push it, and I need to know that there's a champion on the marketing side that's going to partner with Ryan to come up with the business cases that we're going to use it for, and work with him to go implement and follow up on it. And I do think it's a great way to stay up on it, to be competitive, but we look at a lot of technologies.
Yeah, I think just adding on to that a little bit too, I think a mistake that's probably commonly made when it comes to looking at technologies is that there's a lot of effort put onto the implementation plan. And that's because it's really resource intensive. Implementation is hard. But what can happen is if you don't have an adoption plan going into implementation, then the adoption afterwards can be resource exhaustive, and sometimes it's not even scalable or feasible to do it. So my recommendation is that even before you're working on the implementation plan and you're looking at the technologies, is to have an adoption plan. Like, everybody should be aligned. You have the owner in place, you know who's going, what you're going to do with it, you have a plan, like how we're going to use it 2 months from now, 4 months from now, 6 months from now, and you're tracking toward that. So there's that adoption plan in place at the very beginning. And to your point about the different technologies, that is our expectation. Like, we want to be partners with the technologies that we use. So if we don't have that partnership, then we won't be able to innovate on it. And so like when I'm speaking with the companies and we're doing those assessments, that is a really important part of the discussion as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, to the point where the one company turned over 50% of their technologies, in my mind I was thinking they don't have the champion or a person to adopt. I would say we have over 23 right now. We probably turn out about one of the technologies a year, and it's more of we want to try something new, and our budget didn't grow, and so we have to cut back somewhere. But we do try to really do the most with the technology.
I hope the audience realizes how unique that is, because this is nowhere near shiny object syndrome, and this is a situation where you have at the leader setting an expectation that we as an organization are going to continue to innovate, we are going to experiment, we are going to optimize. I am going to give you free rein to step forward in your career and figure out the adoption and how this is going to have an impact. So in a way, it's creating a culture of learning and innovation inside the organization, and it really does. It makes it work, right? So that being said, you fast forward, you've been there for 2 years now. You came in, you had 26 people. How big is the marketing organization now?
We're 45.
45. So that's a lot of headcount. That's a lot of additional. How do you continue to maintain that momentum? How do you continue to orchestrate? Because it's an expanding number of activities that you're performing. So how do you continue to maintain that momentum?
Yeah, so Ryan's team's definitely grown. So he has 2 back-end web developers. We have more creative folks. The digital social team has grown since then. Product marketing, because we need a lot of content. Also, our product portfolio has grown as a company, and our sales team has tripled or quadrupled, so we have a lot more mouths to feed, and so that means demand gen programs team is growing. So to maintain it, we just have more people that can be champions. We have a lot more operations involved with more people, so Ryan's got a whole, we're engineering dominated, so we use Jira. Creative teams on Jira sprints, web's on Sprint, product marketing's on Jira. Demand gen, social, they're all on these sprints so that we can operate as one team. We've got to align around launches and different events that we're doing. We've specialized, in demand gen. I've got a team focused on enterprise, because we have an enterprise sales team, we have an inside sales phone team, and then we have e-commerce. You can go direct and put a credit card in for our Atlas product. And so those are just very different channels. And so we have people focused on feeding those different channels. And we try to leverage content, but they're also different personas. The enterprise team has got more people in a committee they've got to solve to, versus inside sales, maybe direct to IT ops. And then e-commerce is typically a developer. And so it's just really, I think it starts with the persona and then the products that align around it, and then the team aligns to that. And he's really a center of excellence, serving all these different teams, and we're worldwide.
Yeah, I mean, I think from the ops perspective, so the way that we kind of structure the team is a bit unique, I think. But so I manage ops, web design, and digital. And what's nice about that is that we can take a holistic approach to projects and programs. So our team, and pretty much the entire all of marketing and engineering, a lot of the company actually is on an agile approach, 2-week sprints. And so we don't have to look at, like, here's all the tickets for all these little individual pieces. My job basically is to take all the projects, work closely with demand gen and with other stakeholders, and just say, okay, these are the programs, what are all the components for those programs, how can we prioritize this project, and create all the necessary tickets to make sure that that project will get completed in time. But I have to have that holistic approach, and that's basically how we tackle it. And when it comes to alignment, we use OKRs across the company, so objectives and key results. So part of my job also is making sure that I'm looking at the sales OKRs, the demand gens, and the rest of the company's OKRs, and making sure that there's alignment there. So that way, when I want to go and talk to the sales team, I don't convince them that I need their help and to try to garner a favor. It's just like, this is on their OKRs, it's on our OKRs, so we both have to do this, and it makes sense. And with that note, when it comes to marketing sales alignment, but also sales ops and marketing ops alignment, my suggestion there is, I think what can happen a lot is that one is seen as a leader of a project, and the one is kind of seen as somebody who has to enable that project, or something has to change as a result of it. My recommendation is that both teams, both sides, should really be owners of it. So when it comes to assessing vendors, I don't make those decisions in isolation. Sales ops is totally part of the evaluation. They're asking all the questions. And then they're part owners of all the technologies that we implement. So my recommendation is to build that relationship with sales ops so that it truly is a partnership. And I guess there's one comment on that, is that that's not always that easy to do. Our head of sales ops is somebody that we've worked with previously at DocuSign, awesome guy, really good friend of mine. But it didn't start off that way. When we first started working together, we kind of butted heads a little bit. And Meagen basically kind of had this project, it's kind of a big project, and I had her co-own it. And we sat in a conference room together for 3 days and came out friends. So
It was like Parent Trap.
yeah, exactly. So if you're having troubles with that, I just recommend co-owning the project and kind of building that relationship.
Okay, well, and part of that too was when you first joined, you had a mandate for not just marketing systems, but marketing and sales systems. It kind of greased the skid a little bit, yeah?
Yeah, it's true. So when I first came on, systems had reported into our CFO, and we were looking for a new CFO. And so my boss, the CEO, asked if I would manage all of business systems as well as marketing. And so the great side of that was that I got to select and implement the systems, not just for marketing, but for sales. It was probably, I didn't do as well on HR tech and fintech, but supported them, but it also allowed me to move very fast in getting systems up. I hired in sales ops leader for the systems, and then moved it into sales, because I actually think your operations team should sit within the org or the division, at least our size company. They need to be in that team and partner with them. I don't think that, like, I wouldn't want marketing ops to sit in business systems and I have to go and try and get them to do something I want. They've really got to live and breathe my world and be part of the team. And so yes, that was a benefit of owning it for the first 9 months. And then when the CFO came in, I said, okay, you manage business systems. I'll keep marketing, and sales is over there.